morning and welcome to Brandenburg News Network. I am Donna Brandenburg, and it's the 4th day of February 2025. And welcome to our show today. I have a great show lined up. First off, we're going to be talking to John Tatar, Mr. Tatar, and we're going to be talking about all things Constitution as well as lawful defense, how we defend ourselves in a republic. Well, we're kind of in a civil action jurisdiction, and change things fundamentally. And that's what we're going through, is learning the actual law, and that the law is on our side. It's amazing. Then at 10 o'clock, we're going to have on Curtis Clark, and Curtis has Patriot approved. We're going to be talking to him a bit about several things, but today we're going to start out talking about the DNR and the pilfering of our natural resources here. If you don't know what's going on with the DNR in the state of Michigan, buckle up, because these people have got unchecked power, and they are literally going through our state, claiming all the resources for themselves and decimating the state of Michigan. Not only are they decimating things in the north part of Michigan, they're decimating it all over the place. Parks, everything. They are literally tearing this state apart. And I think that as soon as we get somebody in that's actually a good governor, we will see the reversal of this very quickly, just like we have in the federal level with President Trump and the unified executive theory that needs to be put in place, where it pulls all the power out of these NGOs, non-governmental agencies, and cuts that DNR back to what it's supposed to be. So with that said, morning, Mr. Tatar. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good. You got a song for us today?
No, today I don't, but next time I will.
You didn't like my song last week.
Yeah, what was your song last week?
Money, money, money by the pound. Those creepy guys on the like, yeah, it's like our politicians right there for Donna Brandenburg. That's how I see it.
Where is the Department of? You must have done this research if you're looking into it, and so should Curtis Clark. Where's the DNR in the Michigan Constitution?
Yeah, I have done that, and we've actually looked that up and gone through that. There's like section 35 and section 52 of. You're going to make me remember this by memory, right? My hard drive is getting full here.
Get your Michigan book out and look.
I'm going to do one better than that.
Because we should. Where does it say that they have the right to confiscate property?
They don't.
Well,
they absolutely don't, and they can come on your property without a search warrant and basically do what they want. And you got to fight them to get it back. I hate these guys. I don't sort of hate them. I really hate them.
They can't do that. They can't do that.
I think they need.
Did you ever figure out that if you tell them that they're on to get off your property 3 times and they don't, then you can call the sheriff and have them arrested for trespass?
Okay, it's Article 4, Section 52 is one of them, and then there's Article 4, Section 35.
Article 4.
Yep.
Oh man. What we really need to do is stop these scammers.
For real, right?
Yeah,
make them pay for every scam call that they give us. They need to pay for it. Here we go. There's just a law here. I pulled it up on Copilot. Section 4, Michigan Constitution. Article 4, Section 52. The conservation and development of natural resources of the state are hereby declared to be of paramount public concern in the interest of health, safety, general welfare of the people. The legislature shall provide for the protection of the air, water, and other natural resources of the state from pollution, impairment, and destruction. Now, their overreach to this, or
no.
Hold on. Yeah, I know I was going to get tatered for that one.
Don't do overreach. Overreach is their language.
Okay.
Usurpation is criminal.
Their usurpation of what they're supposed to be doing is clear if you look at it and what they've done. Well, guess what? Today we're going to talk about the fact that they have literally destroyed a campground in the state and blocked the roads from people. And I'm just gonna throw this out here, and I hope somebody looks into it. I honestly think that the child trafficking and the trafficking in the state is kind of being hidden by the DNR because they're in control of all the roads and the waterways. What a great way to move.
What's the other article? In this Article of 52, I don't see any authority for them to purchase or steal land from people. I don't see.
Well, there isn't, but they do it like anyway. Hang on a minute.
This is constitutional. They're violating their oath of office. They're violating the Constitution.
Agreed.
This is criminal. This is usurpation of authority. This is violation of their oath of office. And that's where they should be taken. But who are these people? Do you have a director of the DNR? Do you know who he is?
Yeah, I do. We looked that up too. Hang on.
That's who we need to focus on. We need to put him on a lawsuit, and for violating Article 52. What's the other article?
Well, hang on. Here's the other one. It's Article 9, Section 35. And so kind of looked into this fairly lengthy. And actually, I wrote a resolution we're writing resolutions on this stuff and showing what they've done. In fact, I've got a resolution that's about ready for adoption, and they're all going to get it in their email here pretty quick. But yeah, then it goes into Michigan National Resources Trust Fund. And this thing is so suspect, it's not even funny. How they did a trust fund, it's nonsense. And then we looked up the people behind the scenes on this, and it's pretty enlightening on who is really involved in it and who's paying them. There's one gal that is working up in Comstock Park here. And when you look at the company she's working for, you're like, how is this not all complete collusion from the corporate side of this, economic corporate side of it? They're jumping into this, and they have literally put their little puppets in the DNR for corporate gain. And I've never seen any receipts. How do we have any receipts on where the money is for the lumber they've cut, for the minerals that they've taken, for the nonsense they've done with Nestle? And what happened with Ice Mountain up there is Nestle paid $250, I think, for a permit, and they've taken millions and millions of gallons of water out of this state. No benefit to we the people. They literally have stolen these things, and everybody that's attached to the DNR and the economic players that be, when you see the companies they work for, because we went through this in one of the past episodes in detail. We went through this, and you look at this, there's no two ways about it. It's an economic takeover by the public-private partnerships that jumped in there to grab our resources and pretty much say, screw you, state of Michigan, and all you people that are we the people supposed to be in charge. We don't care about you.
Well, we know that land grabs are part of the process, but we do also know that the state of Michigan and or the federal government do not have the authority to own property. That's the right of the people. It's a criminal organization at this point. The government is criminal. The government is the enemy of the people right now. You have someone here right now that you can focus on. If you know who the director or department head of the Department of Natural Resources is, if you know who he is, you can start by sending a 3-letter administrative process to him and explain your grievances. And if he doesn't respond, then it goes to court. But you got to start somewhere, and you got to start with the administrative process to get him to correct his process. I think it's Karen Hoon. That she's usurping authority never granted, not overreaching. There's no such thing as overreaching. There's no legal definition for it in the law books, in Black's Law Dictionary. This is a racing issue, words that have been used for racing. It's Scott Brown. Overreaching another horse. This has nothing to do with government public functionaries. They're usurping authority never granted. And you got to get the language right, because usurpation is a violation, is criminal, and therefore those people need to be held accountable. But if you overreach, well, just slap them on the wrist and things will be fine. No. Scott Bowen. Okay, so Scott Bowen needs a letter a couple of certified letters, notarized, of course, so you can use them in court later.
Well, he served as the commissioner of the lottery. There we go.
Well, lottery doesn't have anything to do with it, with DNR, unless it's connected somehow.
Well, I'm just saying that they move these clowns around back and forth between different departments. They go in one department and another, and it's just it's a shell game.
Just like the Pope and the religious people, when they find a preacher that's a pedophile, they move him to another region. And then he does his pedophile business all over again. So this is the same thing. They hire somebody that's a clown, yes, clown, to the system, and they can just shift them around and give them another job here and there.
And he's a bar attorney for more than 30 years. Well, he
the fact that he's a bar attorney makes him suspect to a bag of vomit.
Yeah, that's kind of one of those things that I look at and go, okay, he just got checklists on the list for every big nope situation I can think of.
Well, that's why a letter to him, again, it has to be certified. It has to explain that what he is doing is a usurpation of authority. It's not in the Constitution, especially if you've gotten both parts of the Constitution, you understand that there's no authority for him in the Constitution to do what he's doing. Therefore, he's usurping authority never granted. Therefore, he's violating his oath of office. You got a whole bunch of things that you can go after him for in a lawsuit. And
every single one
charge him millions of dollars for his violations of the law.
Well, and the legislature is supposed to know the projects before and approve them before they do them, and they just don't do that. They have literally ran right past all of this and are doing exactly.
The legislature in Michigan is the most useless organization we ever had established. They're worse than the executive branch, and they're worse than the judicial branch because they do nothing.
Nothing. Have you ever heard of the unified executive theory or the unitary executive theory?
No.
All right. I think this is what President Trump's doing. I read it yesterday, but I wanted to read it to you. It's is a constitutional interpretation that posits all executive power is vested in the President of the United States.
Absolutely.
And I think that this is what President Trump is actually doing when I look at what he's doing. And I talked to a few people that are clearly smarter than me, which is good. You know, you always want to be the dumbest person in the room because then you've surrounded yourself with So it includes centralization of power and argues that the president has the authority to control the entire executive branch, meaning
absolutely
federal agencies and departments that are under direct supervision and control of the president. Constitutional basis, proponents often cite Article 2 of the U.S. Constitution, which states the executive power shall be vested in a president of the United States of America as the foundation of this theory. Implications for administration. This theory supports the idea that the president can remove executive branch officials at will, emphasizing the president's ability to direct policy and administration through those officials. Debates on checks and balances. Critics argue that this could undermine the system of checks and balances by reducing the independence of the federal agencies, potentially leading to abuses of power. Conversely, supporters believe it ensures accountability by making the president directly responsible for the actions of the executive branch. And the legal and political implication over time, the theory has influenced debates on issues like the appointment or removal of powers of the president, the independence of the agencies like the Federal Reserve and the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and the extent of presidential authority on national security and law. My interpretation of this is, in fact, he is literally removing all of these NGOs, all of the 501c3's ability to run the nation, because they're running the nation right now. They have usurped the authority of the government as it was intended by the founders.
That's right. Absolutely. And I don't see why he even has to do that. The Constitution gives him total authority to do that. He can hire and fire at will whoever he wants.
He has to fire them all. Just say, we're done.
But he doesn't need a law to do that. It's in the Constitution.
I'm joking, guys. I'm joking.
Got to go back to the original document. And for some reason, the public functionaries don't want to do that. They want to come up with new laws, new rules, no regulations. We don't need that. We don't need that. We just go back to the original Constitution and follow what it says. And that's what it says. It says that he's totally responsible for the executive branch. And he is totally responsible for the buck stops with him. What president said that? I don't even remember. A buck stops here. Remember that?
Yeah, I don't remember who said it.
One of the presidents of the past, Truman, or I don't know.
There's wonderful quotes. You know, when I was in the National Archives in DC a few weeks ago, I was reading all the quotes from the founding fathers in there, and I was like, these gentlemen were absolutely brilliant.
Yes, they were. But they didn't have the quagmire that we have today, and the quagmire is the media, pretty much. And the ability for these public functionaries to think that they have more power than they do. It was Nixon and actually it was Kissinger, who decided that the president should be more powerful than he is. Because Nixon had certain responsibilities and certain powers, and Kissinger wanted to go beyond those powers. So, and who was Kissinger? Kissinger's a criminal. He's a anti-American. He's the scum of the earth.
And he was a traitor to the Jews in Germany.
Yeah, and he had the ear of the president, Nixon. And Nixon did a lot of stupid things in office because he was following the stupidity of the people that were on his staff, such as President Trump did it in his first office. He listened to the senior executive branch who said you can't do that. He should have fired the senior executive branch on the spot and said, you're not telling me how to run the country, get out of here. And he didn't, but he should.
Okay, this is like something I didn't even think of. It wasn't on my radar, but that should be something that needs to happen kind of like immediately, as fired that senior executive services.
Absolutely.
I didn't even put that one together until you said it.
They have no authority. They have no constitutional authority. They have no authority. They were just kind of developed, just like the legislature passes a law that we can have a certain thing. It's not constitutional. They have no authority to do that. But we have a legislature that is totally a group of renegades, just like Obama. They are all criminal for the most part. I don't know if anybody in the legislature, that is the Senate, and why do we have a Senate? That's another good question. We should have a single unicameral house where we have just the House of Representatives, but they put the Senate in kind of as a buffer. Why do we have a Senate in the United States? What's the purpose of that?
Represent the state.
But it doesn't. Remember, it took that representation away when it developed, I don't remember what, 19th Amendment or 20th Amendment, when it said that the senators are being voted on by the general public. When it gave that authority to the public to vote on senators, it took the power away from the states. The whole purpose of the Senate was to do the bidding of the states. So we had two senators. Every state had two senators. So the senators could get together and do what the state wanted them to do. And if they didn't do what the state wanted them to do, then the executive branch or the legislature would say, come back, you're done, you're fired. We're going to put somebody else in your position to represent the state.
So the executive branch could have removed the senators too?
Oh, on the spot.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Okay, that escaped me too. That's good to know.
But we changed it with under Roosevelt. I believe it was under Roosevelt, because Roosevelt couldn't get the senators to make an agreement because the states were unhappy with it, then the states would walk and they wouldn't be there to vote. And so the president said, I'll fix you and we'll come up with a new amendment, which he did. And the legislature bought into that nonsense and gave the senators the authority to be elected by the public. But that's not what the Constitution was originally set up for. The senators had one function only, and that was to represent the state. And they were hired and fired based on the legislature and or executive branch of the state of Michigan or any other state to represent the state. If they chose not to do that, they're gone. That's it.
What's really sad is that it just appears to me like none of these people are really fighting for the people. They're just fighting for power, and they're trying to keep themselves entrenched. And when you see the amount of money laundering that's gone on, I gotta say that just watching what President Trump has been doing over the last week or so, just really inspiring. He cut U.S. aid. He kind of like put a stop to that and put it on.
Gone a long time ago, but.
And then he also stopped payments to South Africa, tariffed Mexico, Canada, and China. And you listen to people and they're going, "Oh no, we've tariffed Canada." It's like, have you seen the tariffs that Canada has had placed on the United States? And we just sit there and say, "Please keep punching us in the face." We love being punched in the face as America, and. President Trump has kind of like turned that around. It's like, if you're going to tariff us, yeah, you're probably going to get tariffed, and we're not just going to sit here and let you punching us in the face. Kind of crazy.
The problem with our system of government, and it is a big problem, is that the people are not educated. The republic will only stand when we have an educated public. And the public is not educated through bread and circuses that they all fall in and they don't pay attention to what's going on, or their own life that they're chasing after a dollar to bring food to the table. Because and what's causing all of this? What's causing all of this is the Federal Reserve System, is the money system, is the funny money system that we live in. We gave the private bank an authority to print money and charge us interest for it. And by doing so, we gave them the ability to, whenever they wanted money to launder for their particular special projects, such as the what was the AM, the one that Trump just defunded, or the WHO, or any of those other organizations, we gave them the authority. We didn't give them the authority. They took the authority, but we're not stopping them. The people have to do this, not the government. The government's not our friend. The government's never been our friend. Even Washington said it's not our friend. It's a fire that we have to have, but they're not. But it could be dangerous to us. And
it's the failing of human beings of being power hungry, money hungry, greedy, and self-serving. And so guess who rises to the top of that in politics? It's the people that are the most greedy, because either A, they're not smart enough to work or produce a product, or B, they don't have the integrity to do the right thing. I mean, how many politicians have you seen in your life that actually were willing to stand against all opposition, or are they just willing to constantly make these concessions? And voting for the lesser of two evil is still evil. And if you still evil into things, you're part of the problem. So here is what Canada is currently imposing tariffs on the United States. Milk, 270%.
Let them do it. Who would buy that?
245%. Butter, 298%. Poultry, 238%. Fish, 100. Tobacco, 100. Consumer goods, 30. Lumber, 20. cars 25, steel 25, aluminum 45. And anybody says that, oh, poor Canada, we shouldn't be tariffing Canada. Are you kidding me?
Well, the problem with Canada is we don't need Canada.
No, we don't. What's that?
We really don't need Canada.
I've got this hair thing going on here. It happens all the time.
Looks fine from here.
I got this crazy hair thing going on. I look like
I'm the one that got the crazy hair.
Yeah, you got crazy hair. I look like a long-haired cat that's been severely licked by its mother most of the time.
By the way, it's the 17th Amendment that was brought on board during the 1912. It was ratified in 1912. Interesting, in 1913, it was brought on board. What happened in 1913?
Federal Reserve.
That's right. So this was passed by Congress May 13, 1912, and ratified April 8, 1913, to change the amendment so the senators of the United States can be voted on by the general masses of the public. So did the Federal Reserve have anything to do with this? Did you ever read Creature from Jekyll Island?
I've watched some videos on it and such, but I haven't read the book.
You got to, that's an eye opener in itself. And people that are listening to our broadcast should be finding that book if they didn't have it and read it. There's also, I think there's a video on it. Video is obviously not as good as the book itself, but The Creature from Jekyll Island brings in the Federal Reserve. These guys, these criminals, and I don't remember their names off the top of my head, all met in secrecy and went to Jekyll Island to develop the Federal Reserve banking system. And we bought into all of that crap. And it was even the president, I think it was Truman. Was it Truman or Woodrow Wilson? One of them on his deathbed says, I did a very bad thing in my presidency. I took a great industrial country and turned it into a third world country. He knew back then what he did wrong.
And that was Truman?
It was either Truman or Woodrow Wilson. I don't remember.
It's Woodrow Wilson, isn't it? His name pops up a lot in regard to this.
Who?
Woodrow Wilson.
Could have been Wilson. I'd have to do a little more looking into that again because so many pieces of information to keep straight and keep organized. But you do know that if you haven't Creature from Jekyll Island, you really need to understand who the Federal Reserve is, what they are, and how diabolical they are. They want world order. They want us to, in the green scam. They want us to have the CBDC, the central bank digital currency. They want total control of the public. They want us in these 15-minute cities, which are you don't have to go anywhere but 15 minutes from your place. You have your stores and everything in your one area. They want you in electric cars so they can limit your travel. They want you out of the farms and out of the rural areas and into suburban, into these cubicles in the 15-minute cities. And people need to wake up. This stuff is coming. Fortunately, we have stopped it for a while. Trump has stopped it. But this is not going away. It's just the fact that Trump is over there ending this stuff doesn't mean that they won't come back. And the public needs to be aware that this is where they want to go. The 2030 was what, 2020, 2021 original? Now it's 2030. They just moved the date, but they're still in the same process trying to do the same thing, trying to take total control of the public. Will they do it? Depends upon the people. It all depends upon the people.
I've got a comment on that 2021 and 2020 and 2030. Does it seem to you like they're just moving the dates so that we are asleep to the fact that it's already here?
I don't think it's here. I think they're doing everything they can to bring it here. I don't think it's here yet. I know that they don't have the central bank digital currency. Trump is talking about gold and Bitcoin to stop that. Will it stop it? Yeah, I think it will, but it might be a temporary fix until the evil people get back on their feet again. If we don't if we don't annihilate those people right now and get rid of them.
Yeah, that's the key right there, is that we've got to clean house radically. David said Woodrow Wilson was president during the passage of the Federal Reserve.
There you go. Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Curtis said, let's see, other states. Curtis got all kinds of comments here. The globalist agenda is to continue usurping local control for centralized control, allows for easier implementation of a more global control. What happens when the Senate has more power than the representatives is a question mark, or the state interests having more authority than the people's interests. Around that time, John D. Rockefeller took over science and medicine. Another was, Aether was also removed from the periodical table of elements. This also controlled the college curriculum. So
Correct.
Lots of stuff.
It's right on target there.
Yeah, there's all sorts of things that have been manipulated around us.
And it's been going on for a very slow process.
Well, look at look at the table, the food pyramid and such. We're looking to the government to be an expert on anything. I'm going to tell you what, they got that so screwed up, it's not even funny. You want to eat the food pyramid that they have, you're going to be overweight. Your brain is going to be slow. This isn't the way that people need to eat. And just for comic relief here, the black line around the food pyramid, you know what that is?
No, I don't know.
Coffee and chocolate. It holds the rest of it all together. I figured that out years ago. Coffee and chocolate, you can live through anything. Cheers.
Well, this is the problem that we're having. And fortunately, you're talking to a lot of bright people out there. That's part of your group, but we need more people. We need more people listening. We need more people waking up. Some people are, because they're finding that they're getting into some hot water by the government. Government's leaning on them. They don't like that, finally, that the government is doing what they're doing. And so some of them are waking up, but a lot of them, you know, when you live 60 years in your life and you don't do anything and you don't learn anything, and then all of a sudden it starts caving in on you, it's like, which way do I go? It's like you got this big elephant and you're trying to eat this elephant in one bite. You got to know how to segregate or divide it up and take little bits and pieces of it and take it on that way, take the battle on that way. You don't go after all the judges or all of the bureau rats. You go after the selected group. You pick your battles and you do your war. But the general public is, you know, I work all day long. I'm tired. I don't want to listen to the news. I don't want to do any studying. I don't want to read anything. I just want to watch the football game or whatever game is on at the moment, or as the stomach turns, or some of the other sitcoms that are out there. So this is the problem that we have. The people haven't learned this in high school, and it hasn't been drummed into their minds in junior high and elementary. And now they're at 60 in their life, and they don't have any clue what's going on. They don't know.
Yeah, you know what and this was all by design, to disable people, to make them feel helpless, and really to make them helpless through the education system, which it sounds like President Trump is getting ready to tear apart the NEA, which should have been done a long time ago too, and that came through from Carter, just like the Department of Energy. came through from Carter. He's getting ready to tear these things down. I'm loving this. This is great. We need to have little smoldering black piles of ashes that are unrecognizable for the departments that we have right now, in my opinion. So, with all of this, the people have been groomed to have this mindset, not to speak up, not to cause any waves, to be afraid, and to feel so helpless because the problem seems so large that they don't act. So today, okay, we're going to give.
What did your parents used to tell you? You never talk about government, politics, or religion.
My dad was so far past that. My
always talked about those things.
Yeah, my dad was always the first one in there. Well, you want to know, and then he'd start beating on the Trilateral Commission and everything else. He never backed away from a fight. My dad didn't. He was funny too. He was really a funny guy. So no, I didn't have that same experience growing up.
A lot of people have.
Clearly.
You never talk about religion. You never talk about politics when you're in family gatherings. That's when you are supposed to talk about it.
Yeah, we did. Everybody did.
Drummed into our minds for years.
And then the other thing is that when you go into a conversation, the problem that I see a lot of people have is they're listening for response. They're listening to something that they can just go, no. And they argue. They'll start right off with an argument to defend their position.
Yes.
Well, that's what the education system has done. It is taught us that we know everything. So because the educators told us so, right? And not to question anything. So then people go into these discussions knowing everything and they don't listen. And the biggest part of the problem is you got to listen to people you disagree with. That's probably one of the smartest things that we can do, and say nothing. Don't respond and just listen to it and ponder it, because there might be a nugget of truth in there that we just don't know, And I think that starts, but we need to give everybody a job today. So they don't know what to do, and you want to help, pass on Brandenburg News Network and pass the link on to some people so that they can come and listen to either this show or other shows. John and I have been doing this now for about 1.5 years, and on Tuesdays. I was talking to
and Wednesday nights.
Wednesday nights for Nancy. So, but I mean, just right here, it's been you and I for almost 1.5 years, almost every Tuesday. Mm-hmm. And talk about commitment. I got the Ethiopian Bible. I decided to buy that because I was curious. Oldest, most considered probably the oldest, most reliable source. I had no experience with this, but I picked it up. I got it in yesterday. I picked it up and I started thumbing through it. One of the books that I was really interested in, because I've read the Book of Enoch before, and so I went to the Book of Enoch to see what it looked like in there. And you know what really struck me in that book was commitment, work, and commitment, over and over again in the first bit of the book. And it was the unwaveringness that you don't just quit when things get tough, or you're taking on, say, I don't know, all of this flack from the enemy. That's exactly where you need to kick it in, not stop. And I think that has been pretty clear from at least our commitment from staying here every Tuesday talking about the Constitution and going back to the foundation. And I've learned so much from you. It's incredible. I mean, you're a great teacher, and I like the correction too. If I don't know what I don't know. And you don't get better unless somebody cares enough to tell you, well, let's look at this a little bit, or doing a John Tatar, you're wrong, You're hilarious. So you're absolutely hilarious.
Well, the problem is again, it's a situation where we, the people, have to understand what's going on. We're supposed to be the government, self-governing, self-executing, self-behavior, self-reliant. We are supposed to be our own governor and our own government and run our own lives. The government that's involved in power that we put there have functions to deal with. They deal with certain functions that we don't have the time to deal with. And that's the way the government was set up back in the day, where we the people had the power. But we gave that up a long time ago, and we've been giving it up as time goes on. We gave up the right to get on an airplane without getting own strip searched, which now we have to do in order to get on an airplane, or you have to have a special driver's license, or you have to have a driver's license. Remember, driving is a commercial entity, commercial process. And I don't drive, I travel. I don't have any commercial issues going anywhere. I don't I'm not hiring for transporting public or goods and services. So I'm traveling. Everywhere I go, I travel. But we've been ingrained in this process that we are driving a car. And when we get into this process of driving, we become part of a commercial entity, and we are then under the control of commerce, under the Department of Driving, under the Department of Motor Transportation. That we are drivers, we are commercial vehicles, commercial work, and therefore they can control us, our speed, our stopping at a red light. You'd be stupid not to stop at a red light, but if for some reason you went through a red light by mistake and you got away with it, that's not a criminal offense, and you should not be ticketed for it. Should be warned, maybe the police should be out there saying, hey, you just went through a red light. I'm warning you, if you do that again, there could be consequences. But they have no real authority to ticket you for that, because they can only ticket people in commerce, truck drivers, taxi drivers, Uber drivers, et cetera, et cetera. But that's part of the problem, and we didn't get that. We followed, and I did too as a kid. Hey, the greatest thing in the world was to get my driver's license, because I didn't know any better, because my parents didn't know any better. And so same with my builder's license. When I got a builder's license, I went out and got a builder's license. What the heck for? Government has no authority to regulate my abilities to work. They can put it out as a volunteer situation. You go and you take a test, and therefore you can have a builder's license, and you can show the public that you got a license to build. But that in itself, they have no authority to stop me from doing that, because the government has no authority to stop me from making a living. But they do it all the time. They do it all the time.
Well, and it's just like all of the rules and regulations and such. So if somebody wants to hire someone who has those special qualifications, they should be able to make their own choices whether they hire somebody with those qualifications or without.
That's right.
In my opinion. And so if you feel like you need more oversight, or you want somebody to say, yes, they've been through certain trainings because you have a personal conviction on it, that's perfect. But if you don't, I don't think you should have to. And if there's somebody out there that's polluting, let's just take, for example, say like, a lead-based paint training and such, or whatever, to handle those materials which are improper to the environment. I honestly think you should be able to do it without those certifications. And if somebody screws up and pollutes the environment, well, guess what? We go after them individually for doing the wrong thing and polluting. You go after the individuals.
Yep.
Make them have the responsibility on themselves.
That brings me to this point. When you go after the DNR, you go after the individual, the director of the DNR. Scotty
boy there.
Yeah, you go after him. You start with the 3 letters, telling him what he's doing wrong, that he's usurping authority, violating his oath of office, and that he has to get in line with what the Constitution states. And if he doesn't, then you will seek your remedy in a court of competent jurisdiction, which means you're going to sue his butt. You don't have to say sue his butt, but you got to let him know that he's going to be sued. And so you just do it in a different format, in a different way. But yes, you go after this guy individually. You don't go after the DNR because that's not going to help. You don't go after Whitmer because she doesn't have any authority. She does, but she's not exercising it. I mean, eventually you can go after Whitmer down the line. That's the executive who's supposed to have control of the executive branch, bringing it back to President Trump. He can hire and fire anybody in the executive branch at will.
And the governors need to do the same thing. They need to bring this whole in. The only one that can remedy this in the state of Michigan, in my opinion, is the governor's office, because that's the one that's going to, unfortunately, be the only one that wields enough power to bring this thing back into the structure it was supposed to be into, or in from the beginning.
Well, she has the power to fire Scotty Boy. Right,
but there's the point is that
yeah, you can't do that. But then again, Nessel should be saying, hey, Whitmer, I'm the AG, and what he's doing is totally in violation of the law. But she's dumb she's as dumb as a box of rocks. She doesn't know what's going on.
I'm not sure she's as dumb as she is diabolical. I mean, it was between her and her wife. Her and her wife that paid over $1 million to the signature gatherers in the 2022 election that nicked me and such. But their signatures were fine and fantastic. Then that was never questioned. But boy, they went after Donna Brandenburg. Got to get rid of Donna Brandenburg because she might just tell the truth. Wouldn't that be just horrible?
Well, they played a lot of games with me when I ran too, so.
I really wish you would have won. If you would have won, I would never have had to step into this arena, and I could have just skipped-y-loo off and lived my life, you know? You failed me, John. You failed me.
I did my best. I was on many broadcasts. Of course, they were all rigged against me.
Of course.
But that's, I was in the game. I needed to see what would happen, and I did fight the battle, did my best. So it didn't work out.
And the state is like, oh no, we've got to vote with the polls because the polls are telling us what's going on. Yeah,
I got 18,000 signatures and only ended up with 6,000 votes.
Yeah, I know. I had.
How'd that work?
Yeah, that's a good point. I turned in 27.5. And none of this makes sense. And I'm gonna make a prediction this morning because I've got a few people that are on my shit list, of people that I really don't have any faith that maybe that they're doing what they should be, or the only explanation to this is maybe they're a good guy playing a bad guy, but they're bad guys at face value. I'm gonna make a guess and say, because yesterday I made a guess that Scott Greenlee was gonna step out of the race for Republican chair, and I made the prediction, and while we're online, his letter comes across that says Scott Greenlee just stepped down and is now going to be supporting Michonne Maddock, and oh, by the way, he's on his way to DC. Swamp rat alert. And so now I heard something that Michonne Maddock was talking about appointing somebody as co-chair who's family oriented, has a lot of kids, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like going, who would that be? Somebody that was in the swamp from the beginning, that was part of her little Michonne Maddock electioneering that was going on in 2021, 22. I'm going to say it might be Kelly. And, the half of the flirt boys, Kelly and Soldano, we'll have to see if that happens or not. That was the flirt fest in Michigan with Soldano, Kelly, and Tudor Dixon. You can pretty much judge IQ by the people that were like, oh, how you doing? That sort of thing. And I'm like, I'm nauseated by this. It's like hiring people on a popularity contest to manage our largest asset because you like them. what a low IQ function. I couldn't believe. So let's just see if she appoints Kelly as the co-chair, because if she does, I got a lot to say about this, because he never contested the election. In one of the counties, he had more donors than he had votes, and he never stopped to fight it. How's that working for you people?
This is Kelly.
Yeah.
I ran into Kelly a few times, had a few sit downs with him, invited him to our group. Yeah, you're right. He's the negative side of what a politician is.
Well, and he kept telling people, hey, you need to go to the polls armed. Make sure you're carrying your firearm into these polls and such. And I'm like going, all right, people, I'm going to help you assess this. This is a politician that's trying to have you do something that you're going to get in trouble for. And he's going to walk away and laugh at you when you get arrested for bringing a firearm into school. Because a lot of the polls, it's illegal at this point. It is to carry it in. So if we're just going to go in there on a rampage and get ourselves arrested, that's in the dumb person category right there. We need to go at this from a lawful perspective and say, and attack the unconstitutional laws and those who put them in place in a lawful manner, not doing stupid stuff that stupid politicians tell you to do just so they can get their names in the news media, which is complicit as hell in all of this. I think that was pretty clear.
Yes, it's pretty clear. It is.
I try to make things clear. I don't always, but I think we need to get a shirt. We need to get shirts that say don't be that dumb guy.
Maybe you ought to put a couple of shirts together and see if you can use that to raise your revenue.
I don't have any revenue. Maybe I should look at revenue, because nobody seems to want to get out there and work. You pay people all day long, but nobody wants to. They're running their mouths full time, but they will not jump on an issue to help fight this thing. They're not committed enough. They'll go to the coffees, they'll have the cookies. They seem to know everything and they know everybody, but when it comes to work, almost nobody is willing to sit there and actually get work done. They want this to be a social club. Now, well, we're going to get what we get if we get people that aren't willing to do something and actually put their time, their treasure, their sacred honor forward to work with people to fix it. No, everybody sees this as, hey, I can make a buck off of this. Well, you know what? You're no different than the politicians that are in the seats right now. If you look at it that way, you just condemned yourself to sitting with the traitors. And I feel strongly about that. Every single one of us should be out there working, and I mean working, not trying to make a buck off of writing the United States, but getting in there to fight to take it back. Because if we don't, not only have we lost our honor, we're losing the United States.
Yeah, well, that's more important, is we're losing our country.
We're losing our country because of greed.
Because of greed, mostly because of the World Bank, which is trying to help us lose our country, and the public functionaries that are being put in those positions so they could do the bidding of the banking system. It goes down to the money laundering nonsense that's been going on for the last 4 years under Biden and his regime. And we need to get out of that. Trump is trying to do that. Trump is trying to make that happen. But we, the people, need to be doing our part to make it happen.
Okay, so homework. I think I'm going to ask everybody, let's go and do something today. If everybody can pass the links on to this show or other shows or which other ones you like, so that we can get more people watching, so we can help educate people. That would be a huge help.
Oh, yeah.
The next thing is I would love to see some people. I'm willing to file lawsuits all over the place, but I need some help. And I mean, I need not to be paying everybody, but I need some help. I need some people coming forward that are willing to help with this effort. and watch the cases and answer and do the briefs and the motions and such, because we need to do this as a group of people and train people along the way. I need some help with this.
Where would you learn that information?
You would learn this here on the Wednesday night. You could learn it on the Wednesday night.
You learn it on the Wednesday night, because we do cover that stuff.
But I need some people that are willing to help with it. That's what I need, because to do it, the problem we have is that we
have intelligent people that know the law and are able to put things together.
That are willing to work on this, not just show up to get the information, but actually put it into practical use. Anybody out there that wants to help with this, that's willing to help me, I want you to call me at 616-430-4410. Call me, because I'm looking for people that are actually not sitting there with their hands out, but say, I'll help you and we'll get this thing done. That's what I'm looking for, because I'm willing to file the cases. And I can talk. So, I mean, sometimes too much, but I mean, it's like we can get in front of these people and we can represent ourselves. And if we get a whole bunch of us doing this, we would change the United States of America, and it would be quick.
That's right. That's right. We need to get the people involved. The people need to get together, and Trump can't do it. Trump's doing his part, taking care of Washington. We need to take care of Michigan. We need to take care of our local governments, our local boards of people that we put in office in the local level, or local governors and mayors and whatnot. We need to have control over those people. If we start turning that around, it'll work its way up to the top, and it'll help Trump. If we just sit back and wait for Trump to do it from the top down, it may never happen, or it'll take forever to happen. But we need to do, because of the lower levels of government are where the criminality starts. It's rotten from the top to the bottom, and from the bottom to the top. Otherwise, it would never have happened.
Yeah. And I think that's the one thing we got to remember, is that it's not, I was thinking about this and talking to a couple people yesterday after we got offline. To really address the situation, we have to realize that the cartels are the ones that were running Mexico. No way, no two ways about it. Yeah. They were also coming into the United States. And when you look at it, if they're in I don't know how many billions of dollars of drugs that they're running, drugs and human beings and such, but they're running a lot. Okay. Yeah. If they pay for politicians and they spend $2 billion to fund or pay for politicians to put them in place, that is a chip shot for them. That is chump change for them. And I think that if we actually had a transparency into what the dark money that is going to these candidates, top to bottom, even in the local races, somebody's getting paid off because their behavior follows a pattern.
Yep.
They all follow the same pattern.
Yep.
So, well, why don't you give yourself a plug here, John, on the Wednesday night thing, how they get a hold of you?
Well, we have a Wednesday night Zoom this week. So those of you that are out of state, by the way, we have people from New Mexico and somebody from California, and we have some hookups basically because of your program. They've listened to you and they've come over and joined us on Wednesday nights, which is wonderful. But we don't have enough, and we need more people that are interested in and want to. And don't wait until the government taps you on the shoulder and says you will have to do something. Learn the laws before that happens, because once that happens, then you're running around like a chicken with a head with a chicken cut off, trying to figure out which way to go, and you can't do it because you've got too much stuff coming in at you at all directions. You got to be able to control what's coming in at you in order to fix it. So on Wednesday nights, we talk about Constitution. We talk about court cases. We give you the very important parts of the court cases that you really need to know. You don't have to read the whole court case. We kind of give you sometimes we read the court case if it's not, 100 pages long. And we go over specific areas, and the court cases that I send out from our group are all yellowed and marked. So really, all your work is done. You don't have to read and reinterpret the court case. All you have to do is get the court case, listen to what we have to say, make your own notes on it, and then you have it for that day that government taps you on the shoulder and wants something from you. And if you do that, you will be much more powerful. You will be not afraid of these alphabet organizations, and you'll be able to control what's going on and not have them control you, which is what they're trying to do. So Wednesday nights, we have a Zoom. If you want to get in touch with me, you can call me at 734-968-4715 or text me, or you can go to the magnificentrepublic.com and find our information there and how to get in contact with our Zooms on Wednesday nights and pick up some information that will be very powerful for you in the future.
Make sure you send me the link this week. And this week I've got a little bit of time. So if I can get the link, that's good. Maybe I'll show up there too on Wednesday.
You have my email, so I do send it out. I've already sent it out for this week, so you should have it.
Okay, I'll check. So, all right. Well, thanks, John. And we'll be back in 30 seconds with Curtis Clark. And we'll be back on with Lawful Defense and John Tatar next week, Tuesday, same time, same place, same bat channel.
Bye, everyone.
Be right back. Good morning. Welcome to the second hour, Brandenburg News Network. I am Donna Brandenburg, and it is the fourth day of February 2025, and welcome to our show. I'm going to bring on my next guest, Curtis Clark, right away. Hey, Curtis, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good, really good. We had a wonderful talk this morning, and just talking about all sorts of things, and I wanted to bring you on today and probably tomorrow too at 10 o'clock so people can get to know you and hear some of the information. I mean, you've been posting on the channel for quite a while here, and been reading your posts, and they're very intelligent and some knowledge that I don't have. So I always appreciate that. So today we talking about the DNR some more and your perspective down. You're in Allegan County, correct?
Yes.
So what's happening down there, and what are you seeing?
I see a decimation of all of the. Well, for one, the DNR, we have a lot of state land here in Allegan County. And they're clear cutting quite a bit of it. And I know when I had some land, I've got some land that I had some trees harvested. And I didn't have that many trees. I had a walnut grove. And I got like $5,000-6,000 just, it wasn't even that many trees. I was really surprised. And when you go in the Allegan State Forest, there's so much land that's being clear cut. It's unbelievable. And sometimes I stop and wonder, how did the DNR get control of so much land, which is in direct opposition of the Northwest Ordinance documents of 1785 and 1787, where they convert unorganized territory to organized territory for the purposes of human habitation. It's the exact opposite. The other thing too is one of the campgrounds, Swan Creek Campground. I grew up, we went there almost every weekend, went camping. It was beautiful. They had a beach there, a campground. Place was filled. when I came back here to Michigan, they clear cut the whole park, the whole campground. And they left stumps and brush. You can't even use it anymore. They blocked the campground off. And there's so many trails that I grew up riding dirt bikes and taking 4-wheel drives down these trails. That's in the forest. And we grew up in that. Now half of them are blocked off. They've designated it for equestrian trails for horses, which I don't mind, but it's like we're being pushed off of the land incrementally, slowly. I remember there was a pond out in the woods that I used to go fishing. Beautiful little pond. And when I got back from the military a number of years ago, I decided I want to go out there and do a little fishing. Well, the road was blocked off. So I parked my car, I walked around the stumps that were put there, went back to where the pond was, and guess what? It wasn't there anymore. The DNR had filled it in with dirt.
You're kidding.
I am not kidding. I'm not kidding.
I don't know if people understand what we're seeing, those of us who've been traveling around and looking at stuff, but the state of Michigan is being destroyed by the DNR and those in government that are turning a blind eye to this. And you can't tell me that our legislature doesn't know what's going on here. You can't tell me that, you know? I wouldn't believe it. I'm not saying that to you. I'm saying that rhetorically, not to you personally. But it is a shame what's happening to this state.
Yeah. And so I believe it's all part of the UN's 17 Sustainable Development Goals. They want to control everything, all land, all water, natural resources, everything. And the objective, these are long-term goals, 50, 60 or more year plans. Just like banks, when you get a mortgage, you get a 30-year loan. They're long-term contracts. And it wasn't that long ago that I think it was Biden that started talking about the 30-30 plan. And that's all of this is about is slowly getting more and more land, higher percentages of land that are off limits to human habitation.
Well, that they want to talk about, certainly it's taking them off land for the public, for we the people, but I can guarantee you they're on it. They're using it. They're pilfering it for resources, right?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. So these are the 17 sustainable goals here by the UN.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
And I just encourage everybody to get familiar with the UN, the Sustainable Development Goals, and the synergy with the World Economic Forum that's partnerships to help get this all implemented. And they do it so slowly. You know, people, like if a person grew up in a communist nation, you're used to your environment. And a lot of times you're resistant to change. Well, if you grow up in an environment, it's hard to get out of something that you grew up in that you're used to. So when they do it incrementally like that, you're used to it. You don't think anything of it. So now these young kids growing up, they have no clue that we used to ride dirt bikes and go ride 4-wheel trucks down these trails, and life was great, but it's gone now. You can't do that anymore.
And what's really amazing to me, Curtis, is when you look at, say, like whenever there's a deficit or something, or they can't pass a budget, they actually hold the we the people hostage, because they'll close things like, well, okay, then I guess we got to close the parks. We've got to close this, that, and the other thing, instead of closing the loop on the money laundering that's leaving the state, that there's no benefit. They actually put the people on punishment.
Yeah. The other thing that they use is, well, we don't have the funding to maintain the parks or whatever. They've got so much money. If you look at the budget, I was talking to, I can't remember who it was, but anyway, the budget for the state of Michigan increased so many millions of dollars. And for them to say, well, we don't have the funding to maintain a park, so they close it down. I don't buy it. I don't.
No, I don't either. They've got plenty of money, and it's going all to the corporate welfare. I mean, look at what they gave to Mary Barra for GM. They gave her, I think, is she GM or Ford? I think she's Ford, and might be GM. I'm losing it here. Anyhow, they gave her $846 million for the promise of 4,000 jobs. There was no accountability to this. The corporate welfare, the money that's going into these corporations is shocking. If we pulled that money back and had it going into small business that actually were locally owned, if we were going to help anyone, that would be the way to help, not the big corporations, because they just pilfer everything that we have.
Oh, yeah. And it goes back to our energy independence. Consumers Energy had purchased the Allegan Dam, the Calkins Dam. I think it was 1968, 69, right around there. And they got it for a song and a dance. I don't know the story behind it, what prompted Allegan to basically turn it over to Consumers Energy. But now, over time, Consumers Energy has a parent company. I think it's CMS Energy or something like that. But if you go and find out who their main stockholders are, it's BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard, JP Morgan Chase. So now when we pay our electric bill, the average is $2,500 per household per year. If you count up the amount of households, Allegan County has 129,000 people. Ottawa County has 300,000 people. That's a lot of money. And all we're doing is we're feeding the beast. And there's an alternative. Right now, we're really restricted, and it's easy for the state to usurp local control because we're general law counties. If we were to become home rule counties where we take power back, we're more self-governing. Oh, somebody's calling.
I'm really curious to learn more about the home rule counties because I don't have a lot of knowledge in that. Heard about it, but I don't understand it.
It's probably one of the biggest secrets. It's been so hard to find this information, and it all deals with charters, county constitutions. Back in the colonial days, the main thing that we self-governed from was the cities had compacts, and the townships and counties had charters. They were based on home rule, because when the colonies started coming over here initially, they were given a charter where we had the ability to self-govern and develop our own form of local government. Well, now this deals with commerce. The King of England was saying, okay, you guys you're becoming profitable. You're harvesting wood, starting to produce things. Now we want to retract the charter that we gave you. So here, one of the big things that people overlook, we know the Declaration of Independence, it's great, it's beautiful. But the most commonly overlooked part is the part where they list the usurpations. What is it they called when
Grievances.
Grievances. Thank you. I need another cup of coffee.
Yeah, I'm telling you what, that is the line that holds everything together every day.
25 years in the Army, that's what our main thing was. We drank a lot of coffee.
I can tell you what, it's like one of my favorite things on the whole planet, and I can drink a lot of it. You know, I get up in the morning and have a cup, and then when I sit down here, I'm nice and cozy in my chair, drink some more coffee.
Yeah. But anyway, the British had a history of erasing history. The last nail in the coffin was the burning of the Library of Congress in 1814. And before that, they were retracting charters. And I read some old books where in the 1760s and the 1770s, back then, in the colonies, the townships, counties, and the cities had charters, and the British were taking them back because they didn't want that form of common law self-governance. They didn't have any control. So you can actually go to the Declaration of Independence and start reading those lists of grievances. And I think they're one of the most overlooked aspects of the Declaration of Independence because nobody talks about it, nobody researches it. And what we have today is it's not even close to what the founding fathers and colonists had created as far as local governance. Okay. In 1785-87, when they started doing the documents, you got to realize if the Declaration of Independence is still a valid document today, so is the Northwest Ordinance, and that pretty much lays out the local governance, how it's to be structured, the counties, the townships, and they base that off of something. The Continental Congress didn't just invent it. They based it off of what they had for generations and what worked, and they wanted to get back to it because they didn't want a sovereign king halfway around the world, having control of this. So it stands to reason if we're going to be self-governing, and we have the inherent right to self-determination, that's a key phrase, self-determination, we have the right to home rule. If we don't have that right, then what we're stuck with is a sovereign king or sovereign governor and a sovereign king as a president. That's not what they wanted. The founding fathers hated the idea of centralized governance because they knew that eventually they'll take over and usurp all local control, which is basically what has happened. We don't even know what the original form of, we can try to put pieces of the puzzle together and try to figure it out what the old common law self-governance framework looked like. And I think we have to revisit the Declaration of Independence and the Northwest Ordinance documents.
Well, I'm looking it up right now. I'm trying to flash it up here, but I'm having not finding good resources for it right now while I'm online. But yeah, and honestly, everything that they had as a grievance back then is true today. I don't think they've really changed things that much. I mean, it's just they've done it in different ways, and they've used a lot of unconstitutional or treaties that have usurped our nation. I mean, that's another thing that we could really add to it and really need to highlight, because the treaties and all of these agreements on the outside of our country is undermining our national sovereignty.
Yeah.
Tremendously.
And when the founding fathers created the U.S. Constitution, they were only the federal level of government. They called it the national government back then. But they were only granted certain powers, and the federal government was to control those certain powers. One of them was much like what the UN is structured today. An attack on one member nation state is an attack on all. And all these certain powers that were given, all the rest was reserved to the state or we the people. Well, there wasn't really a state government back then. You had the colonies, and they had a governor that was appointed when the British were over here. And that was the form of a sovereign king. Again, we wanted to get away from centralized government and a king-like figure. That's why we, the people, are the sovereign, but we're only the sovereign in our territorial jurisdiction in the county that we reside, because the county clerk records that in the county courthouse, and that makes you the shareholder of the county. If we're no longer landowners or homeowners, we're not shareholders. We're just debt slaves, trespassers. Somebody else's land. We have no rights, basically. And if they can get to that goal of making it so that eventually we can't even afford to own our own property, our own homes, they've achieved that goal.
So that's really the goal there, is to go back to that premise that you have no standing if you have no land. So they're grabbing the land.
Yep.
Okay. Well, that's something we need to educate everybody on, because seeing the land grabs is pretty, it's right in our faces. I mean, look at all that they've done and with Hurricane Helene, North Carolina, LA fires, Lahaina, all of them. And now the DNR with 4.6 million acres here in Michigan. We need to really, really put them in check, because this is going in a bad direction.
Mm-hmm. And if you think of the way the general law counties are structured today, first I got to say this. Before Michigan was even a state, it was Wayne County. All of Michigan was a county. For 50 years, the main form of government in these territories were counties, and that was for law and order, the sheriff and the courts. And the way general law is set up today, general law counties, yeah, we elect the county clerk and we elect the county commissioners, but that's more of an illusion that we're in control. But if you think about it, the actual people that's in control, because all your counties and everything, they're set up as a corporation. And the corporations have a CEO, and they have board members, committees. But we don't know anything about them or what they're doing. The county administrator or county executive, under general law, we don't elect them. They're basically chosen. And then they have their own committees. And look at zoning committees. If you think of zoning and taxes and all that, is that something that we the people would embrace upon us?
Yeah, pretty much not.
No. And the counties are getting their marching orders. There's a book that the townships, well, not the townships, they have their own book, but the county commissioners, they have a book. It's by Michigan State University Extension. And we know that the colleges have been infiltrated.
Yep.
And if these communists can get into the colleges and then create the manual on how we run our corporation, our county, you can see it wouldn't be that hard to usurp and achieve these sustainable development goals through zoning committees, you name it. The biggest thing we can do right now, I know Carla Wagner is doing the Axe My Tax, but that's to eliminate all property tax.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that. We've gone through that plan here plenty of times, and I don't think that it's well thought out. And she would not answer questions to the taxpayers party that we asked her. So I've kind of like knocked that right off the radar there. Though that we need to do it, that's not, in my opinion, it's not the correct way to do that. And she would.
I think the best thing. Yeah, sorry. I think the best thing we can do is focus on the primary homeowners being tax exempt. If somebody is coming into our counties, our state, if they're big corporations from out of state, global corporations, people from other countries, that is when we should tax, because they're on our territory. They're in our land. I have no problem taxing a big corporation or somebody that has high density housing, corporately owned, government controlled high density housing. If you want to tax them, be my guest, but not primary homeowners, because that goes against it, life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. So you're owning your own property, your own land, where you are the king, you are the sovereign in your county. that should be our main focus, is increasing the percentage of land that's dedicated for human habitation, primary homeowners. And I think that will change things around.
Yeah, I think there's a lot we have to learn in all of this, which I really appreciate, you coming on here and talking about this. And Curtis is going to be on again tomorrow at 10 o'clock. So that'll be fun and give us some more time to explore this issue. And so usually I end the show with a prayer. So I thought we would have a little bit shorter show today. We talked about that before you came on, just so that we could introduce the topic, and then we will go ahead and talk more about it tomorrow. Is there, I'm going to say a prayer, and then I'll give you a few minutes to close, and then we'll see you tomorrow. Okay.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for all the wonderful people that you brought forward to share with us and help share their knowledge so that we can understand how this nation is supposed to be run as one nation under you. We love you so much, and we're so thankful for everything you do for us every day. We ask that you would continue to bring forward truth and purpose, giving us a clear path on what we should do, not only overall, but on our daily walk with you, and also having a relationship with you, listening to you every step of the way, and knowing that, I've been listening a lot about frequency and about the universe bringing things to us and such. And you know what? I know that, you are a person, and that we worship you. We don't worship creation. And this is a problem that a lot of people through history have fallen into that trap. But at the end of the day, we're standing here with you, and I'm thankful for the relationship that we have with you and for your Savior, Jesus Christ, our Lord. It's just such an honor. It's an honor to be here for all of us who you've called to be here as brothers and sisters at this time to live in. And I ask that anyone out there that's having some struggles, that's maybe a little depressed or dealing with some health issues, I ask that you would come near to them and help them in all of their struggles. One thing that I really appreciate is always being able to turn to you, no matter what, no matter when, no matter whether it's a good day or a bad day. We can always go to you and thank you for what we have, and learn to be more like you, consistent, hardworking, unmovable, and unwavering in our pursuits and in our pursuits of restoring this nation, this world as one nation under you. Thank you so much for being such a good friend to us, and we want to be a friend to you too. In the name of Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
So there you go. So any other words here, Curtis? And then we're gonna continue this discussion tomorrow.
I would love for you to form a think tank of like-minded people, and see where this plant these seeds and see where it grows. That's the biggest thing. I would love to have you form a think tank. You have met so many incredible people around this country, and if everybody was to get together and have discussions, because when one person says something and all of a sudden the next person hears it, and all of a sudden this light bulb goes off, it opens thinking. And that's the biggest gift God gave us for freedom, is the ability to dream and think.
Yeah.
So that's my suggestion.
I that's a great idea. It's all fun, and I love getting together with people and hearing ideas. And just as you said, you kind of bounce things back and forth, and it just gets better and better. So, yep. Boys and girls, here we go to that part of the show, because I'm still contesting the 2022 election, where we go to. Please go to BrandenburgForGovernor.com, because I'm the best non-conceder who's ever got conceded in the history of the United States of America, and I'd like to have a discussion with the rightful president of the United States, President Donald J. Trump, in cowboy boots. We'll see who wears them better. I think it's going to be me. So just a guess. So with that said, go out and have a great day today. Remember that no matter what is in our path, we're kind of on an adventure. We're on a quest right now. We're learning as we go, and that's okay. It's okay to change our mind. It's okay to get more information. And it's not that we're wrong. It's that we're learning more as children of God. It doesn't mean we are God. We're children of God. We're learning. We're in process. We're a work in process. And you know what? The person that's directing this work is God Almighty. It's not ourselves. It's not our neighbor. It's not our families. It's God Almighty. So listen to his voice, and he will be telling you exactly what to do to get yourself out of trouble, because we create most of our own troubles, and as well as just to see what we need to do to right this nation, right our families, our health concerns, and all of these things that we have to deal with on a daily basis. We're getting stronger. We're getting smarter every day. And that's a wonderful thing. So with that said, God bless you all. God bless all those whom you love, and God bless America. Make it a great day. It's a choice to be resilient in our days and to continue to walk forward with strength, unwavering, with all the qualities of God. It's a choice. So stay on the line, Curtis, and we'll talk when we get off here. Have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow.